Hello. In my part of the recording, I will be showcasing and demonstrating the Java Servlet and JSP code for parts 1 and 3 in the Project 4 recording. I'll be using data seeded on my own Oracle server, so data shown in other parts of the recording will be different, but will be executed on the same servlets and JSP shown in this section. So I will begin with the login.java servlet. Here's the code for an Oracle Manager. This is a class that simply facilitates the connection between the server and the Oracle database. And here's the code for the login. This actually handles the queries and makes use of the Oracle Manager. I will test it in this browser instance using this data on my Oracle server. So here you can see the data, and here I will try to log in. And you can see I get an output here with the passenger ID 111. Let's move on to info.jsp. Here's the code for info.jsp. And here I will be testing using data from my database. Right here. Next, I will be doing flights.jsp. Here's the code for flights.jsp. And here I will test it and show the seeded data on my Oracle database. Next is flightdetails.jsp. Here's the code for flight details. And here I will test it with data on my Oracle database. Here's trips, trip ID 58. And here we will see that 27 is linked to 58 right here. Next up is award IDs. Here's the code for award IDs. And here we can see that it selects a distinct award ID as specified. Here's the execution, and here is the database data. And here we can see that there are multiple award IDs, but only one is shown in the output, as intended. Here's the code for redemptiondetails.jsp. And here's the execution. And here is the data, awards passengers, awards, and exchange centers. Next up is passenger ID. Here's the code for passenger ID. Here's the passengers table. And here's the output. Last but not least, we have the transfer points. Here's the code for transfer points. It makes 3 different checks. One to make sure that the point account exists, one to make sure that there's enough points to make the transfer, and one to make sure that the transfer was done correctly. I'll be making this query 2 times to show what happens in a normal functioning instance, and as well as what happens when there's not enough points. Before I make that, here is the passenger, here's the points accounts. So here we'll be transferring points from 122 to 111, and we'll be doing this transfer 2 times. First to show the correct transfer, and then once again. Before I do that, let me show you the update. So here we can see 3,000 points have been transferred. And we'll do it one more time with too many points. And here we can see that we get an output of not enough points, and that the transfer is not completed. Thank you.
Hello, this is Tyler and
David Eichinger,
and we're going to explain the Java code of the Android activities.
Alright, so main activity 1, this is the login page. It's very simple. All we have is a username box, password box, and a login button. Basically all it's going to do is when the button is clicked, it's going to go towards it's going to reach for the text values in both boxes, and then make a simple web request with the username and password to the Tomcat server. And depending on the response, it'll either change the activity and pass along the pass ID, or remove the password and stay on this current activity. Moving on to main activity 2, we have very simple.
As soon as the user logs in, the user profile will jump up, and you can see his or her name, their image, their reward points, and 5 buttons that will send them to the different activities. The flight details, all flights, redemption info, and transfer points. And if the user likes, he or she can exit.
The code for this is also very simple. We just have a bunch of buttons which basically has one job, and that's to pass along the pass ID to the next activities, so they know the current the passenger. But otherwise it just makes a simple web request to get the user information, which will fill out the name, the picture, and points.
In the third activity, where the user brings up flights, it's going to show its flight ID, flight miles, and destination that's pulled from the database. At the code level,
basically we just ask to the server for all the flights that the user is in, using the flights.jsp file, and then depending on the response, we just parse out the different components and then just put them in different text boxes.
if there was nothing found, it will just return.
Yeah, so it won't display anything. Activity 4.
So activity 4.
I don't have it open. Hold on.
Activity 4 will the user will be able to select the flight, and it will have its departure, arrival information, and total miles, and it will give the trip ID and its individual trip miles.
This one was getting a little bit more complicated because we had to first request for the flight information, so we get all the flight IDs that the passenger has, or the passenger, how many basically tickets they have, right? So then we fill out the spinner with that, and then depending when the spinner has a new option selected, it'll make a new request that asks for that flight details so they can fill out the boxes below.
For the last two, for main activity 5, the user will be selecting an award for what he or she is eligible for, and there's using a drop-down spinner.
Hold on.
And there is a prize description that is given with the number of points, and also a history of the points redemption and where the points were exchanged at to get redeemed.
The code for this is very similar to main activity 4, and that's just because it makes a request on load for basically all the awards that the user has or has had in the past, and then from there, based on that, whichever option is selected, the drop down in the spinner, it'll make a request for the redemption details of that award. Basically, it's basically how many times they redeemed it and where, as well as the description of the award. Where's my activity 6? It keeps closing my activities. I think you can only have 6 open at a time.
So the last activity, we are the user is able to transfer points to any other passenger, but we have in our JSP file like a guard against not being able to be able to only transfer points that they only have. They can't transfer more than what they already have. So we have that guard in place, and in the spinner bar, selects passenger IDs, and once the transfer is completed, there will be a pop-up that will tell you how many points have been successfully transferred.
Yep. So the code for this is similar because on load it'll just make a request for basically user IDs. Passenger IDs that aren't the current passenger, and then you just select somebody, and then from there, when you click the button, it'll go to the box where you type in the number of points you want to transfer, and it'll make a request that says, this is the current user transferring points to this user, and this points need to be moved. And then it'll make that request, and depending on the response, it'll display either it was transferred successfully or there was an error.
And the display will show as for a short time based on using the code toast.lengthlong.
Yep. Alright, that should be it.
Hi, my name is Ishan Singh, and I'll be demonstrating the actual Android activities. So we'll put in the first passenger. If you put in the wrong password, it will show you an incorrect password. So this is the second activity. And here we have all the buttons and everything, and then if we click, if you want to see the flight details, this will show Jake's flight details. Going back, looking at all flights, we can show the departure, the arrival, the miles for the selected flight, the trip IDs, trip miles, and another flight if we want to select another one. Redemption info, which shows prizes based on their prize ID. So this one will show flight to New Delhi, the points needed, and the redemption date, and the exchange center. Here's another one. Transfer points, if we want to transfer it to any of the other 4 passengers. So for example, we'll pick the next one. We'll give this passenger, well, if we do 1,000, this will not work because Jake does not have enough points. So we'll just do 200. Transfer points. Back out of this. And now if we exit Jake, if he has 112 right now, if we exit and we come back, you should have about 612. Yeah, there we go. And now we will try the next passenger. So this is the next passenger, Mark. If we go through again, we go to the flight. So this is his homepage. We look at the flight details. There's flights. I'm gonna switch to the next one. Departure time, arrival time, miles. Redemption info showing his awards. And if we want to transfer from here to, let's just say, back to Jake, we can give him 200 points. We want to go back, exit. Jake should have back to 812. And now just to go through the rest of our passengers. See Sarah, so flight details, all flights, redemption info, transferring points. You can just give 200 to Jake. And here. So the next person, flight details for Cal, all flights, redemption info, and transferring points. We'll give 1,000. And on to the last person. Read, so flight details, read, photo, flight, redemption info, transferring points. You're about there we go. And if we want to just go back to Jake just to see the amount of points that he has now. And yeah, that is all the activities for our Android app.